joined right now by the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who everyone knows is running for the Republican nomination for president of the United States and is spending the day campaigning here in Wisconsin. Governor, good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. Many Republicans, including some who aren't huge fans of Donald Trump, rightly feel that Trump was set up and framed during his presidency and is now being unfairly targeted again. To me, the biggest challenge you have as a candidate is somehow threading this needle of arguing why you are a superior candidate than President Trump without appearing to be part of this mob that is unfairly targeting him. I've been fascinated by how you're going to try to approach this. How do you run against Trump without appearing to be part of a crowd that clearly targeted him, framed him, and treated him more horribly perhaps than any public figure in American history? Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not difficult for me because I was actually in Congress when the whole collusion hoax started. I was one of probably 5 congressmen who actually spoke out very early on. A lot of Republicans believed in collusion at the time. There were congressional investigations launched in 2017 with Republican majorities on Trump-Russia collusion, and I was there really on the front lines saying that it was a hoax. And obviously, as we got more and more information, the amount of power that was abused by the FBI, DOJ, by the intelligence agencies was really jaw-dropping, and it was something that represented one of the biggest abuses of power that we've seen in modern American history. So that just goes without saying, and I have a very clear record on that. I think the question is what are we going to do about it? Because we had the swamp. The promise in 2016 was that he would drain the swamp, but the swamp got way worse, and it's way worse today than it was in 2016. I will end the weaponization of government, and part of the reason I will do that is because I'm going to come in and I'm going to make very strong executive decisions to clean house. For example, we will have a new director of the FBI on day one in my administration. The former president said the jury is still out on the FBI director. I don't think the jury's still out. I think we all know we need a new direction there. We will clean house at the Department of Justice. We will parcel out parts of these agencies to other parts of the country so that we can stop the accumulation of power in D.C. So I think what we need to do is look forward and figure out who has the discipline, who has the commitment to detail, who's going to keep their eye on the ball, so that you can actually bring the administrative state to heel. They are not going to give up their power willingly, and they are going to eat the lunch of anybody that goes in there and isn't focused on this day after day. I would also say...
Now, if I could interrupt, you threw in 2 words that clearly seem to be a reference to President Trump. You talked about discipline and keeping the eye on the ball. I think implied in that answer is that was Trump's weakness, that he didn't keep his eye on the ball and didn't get some of those things done that he talked a good game on. Was that the point you were trying to make?
Well, clearly the swamp was not drained. I mean, I don't think anyone would say that it was in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I think, in fact, it got worse as the administration went on, and then the final year of his administration, we end up with Dr. Fauci, as the de facto head of the country. So that just goes without saying. I think if you look at what I've done in Florida, I have a better record than any Republican in the country of actually beating the left. You want to talk about George Soros prosecutors? I'm the only Republican in the country that has removed a Soros prosecutor, which is what I did with one of the guys we've had in Tampa. We've beat the left on COVID lockdowns. We beat the left on indoctrination of our kids. We beat Disney on sexual indoctrination of our kids. We beat the left on illegal immigration. And so on and on down the line, we've shown an ability to win these battles against the Democrats and against the left. And I think that's the frame of mind you have to have. Look, my view is that my job is to deliver results.
As I've been talking to Republicans, a lot of the so-called donor class, more influential people, they're very intrigued by your candidacy, and they're in fact supporting you because they saw what you did electorally in Florida, that most of us, including me, believe the highest priority is to win. The highest priority isn't which candidate that you win with. In your most recent election for governor, I think you carried all but 4 counties, and You either won Miami-Dade or you came very, very close to it. There aren't any Republicans in America that win urban counties. You won enormous margins in counties in your state that used to be Democratic counties. You turned a swing state into overwhelmingly Republican. The question is, how do you translate that to a presidential race?
Well, honestly, I think it's the same thing. I mean, the good thing about Florida, and being from Wisconsin, because we have so many people from Wisconsin that come in the Midwest. My state, if you divide it by region, it's like 5 different states. You got to appeal to Midwesterners. You got to appeal to Southerners. You got to appeal to Latinos. You got to appeal to Northeast transplants. It is a unique state in our country that's really a microcosm of the United States. I look at Wisconsin, and I say, if you can't win Wisconsin, you will not get the keys to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It is a must-win state for a Republican. It's a very closely divided state, kind of like Florida was before I came on the scene. I think we have the ingredients with how unpopular Biden is to move Wisconsin red in 2024 and build off that success going forward. How do you do it? You got to make sure your base is coming out, which in Florida we did. I got the highest percentage of Republicans that any governor candidate's ever gotten in history, but we won 62% of Latinos. We won women by 8%. We even won independents by 18%. And I think it's important that Republicans will win if we can appeal to people outside of our base. And
one final question that I want to ask you about that. One of the huge Achilles heels in recent years for Republicans has been the so-called suburban women vote. Trump did terribly in that group, sometimes called the soccer mom vote. Your campaign is making a major effort to target that group. I saw the video. It's an extraordinary video. Mamas for DeSantis, and it's trying to change the narrative and, in fact, make suburban women, particularly mothers, a key Republican voter bloc by focusing on the anger that so many mothers feel about the targeting by the left on any number of issues of our children. In order for you to pull this off, you have to literally change the narrative and take a voter bloc that's been leaning Democratic and turning it Republican. I just sense with the role that your wife Casey is playing in the campaign and the creation of this video that, assuming you win the Republican nomination for president, this is one of the highest priority groups for you to go after. Just talk briefly about why you believe a Republican candidate for president can win the votes of suburban women.
When you go after the children, you awaken a sleeping giant with the mothers in this country. And we've already shown it in Florida. And some of it was we protected them from the school closures and the mask mandates. Some of it was just, quite frankly, protecting their jobs with all that. But we leaned in on protecting their kids from indoctrination. When we fought on the gender ideology and tussled with Disney, the media was upset at us, the left. But I'll tell you, the parents across party lines agreed with us. They want schools focused on basics. They don't want schools doing things behind their back, and they want a seat at the table. And so we really believe that parents have a fundamental role in the education of our children, and we're going to continue stressing that. I also think if you look in Florida, our crime rate's at a 50-year low. We take seriously the need for families to have safe communities. That is not true in all the urban areas across this country. We're actually going to lean in on some of these Soros prosecutors.